Okay, I have a confession to make. I was, and I still kind of am, a horse girl. And please don't run. I know you want to, but please don't. Just hear me out, okay? Just hear me out. I promise it's good. It's worth it. As a kid, if you may know from my previous video, as an undiagnosed autistic kid, I was extremely prone to these obsessions. And generally, when I was younger, they were very steady. And one of the ones that was continuously a part of my childhood was horses, and it was entirely because the market at the time, when it came to toy fads, was very focused on pushing horses and ponies and princesses and unicorns and Pegasi. And one of my favorite Barbie movies was Barbie the Magic of Pegasus, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, still holds up, still great. Things like that were very popular when I was growing up, and I became invested in learning everything about horses, how to ride them and take care of them, how to draw them, and simulate having one of my own, because there was no way in hell my parents would get me a horse. And I don't think most parents would. Quite a few of the girls growing up in my generation are these horse girls you see now, and the reason is because of all of these toys that were marketed heavily towards us. And yet most of those girls didn't have the space or the time to be taking care of their own horse. This created an entirely new market, one that I took part in. So knowing that I would never get a horse, even if I asked, until the end of my days, I wanted to make believe in the ways that I could, which was with toys and the wonderful world of horse web games. A lot of these were not the kind that I'm going to talk about today. They were just games where you would have a virtual horse that you had to take care of. You could breed it, you could feed it, and have it go to riding competitions. I wasn't around on the internet at the time where things like 3D games, like 3D web games, were super popular. I was playing the shit that was really bad quality, like, Flash games and just flat screen, just pictures that maybe sometimes moved a little bit. And I did all of this to sedate my raging obsession with horses. The games that I would play, or three of them that I remember at least, were Horser, and then the magical world of Bella Sara. Heck yeah, that is today's topic. Now, if you haven't heard of Bella Sara before, it would not surprise me a bit. Bella Sara was active in selling trading cards from the years 2006 to 2012, with their first release debuting in Seattle and San Diego. The cards looked a little something like this. I currently have a bit of a collection because my sisters and I did some nostalgia shopping a while back, because a lot of our old Bella Sara cards were all chewed up thanks to my sisters chewing on them. We had a lot of damaged cards, so I kind of wanted to have some new clean cards, and sadly they don't sell these anymore, so they were not the easiest to get. In total, there were 18 series, color-coded by the border of the cards. Seattle-based Hidden City Entertainment released 3 sets a year. With 18 series, you can imagine they started getting a little bit dry by the end of their run. They had a few releases of minifigures and a line of toys. I have cards spanning from the 2008 release to about 2011, and the ones that I more recently bought were some of the later releases to my collection, because the older ones are a lot more pricey to get new now. Compared to other trading games such as Pokemon and Magic the Gathering, it didn't have enough relevancy to stick around, so the cards are no longer in production. They are in circulation on certain places in the internet, but sadly they're not sold anymore. In 2008, Bella Sara was given a website. It's a portal for collectors to view information about card sets and upcoming release dates. Looking closer at the cards, you may have noticed something. Underneath the name and quote, there's a string of characters, a code. With the 2008 creation of the website, the cards had an entirely new purpose. When codes were entered, the website generated a virtual replica of the card in question. The cards came to life. As a child, it was just insane. It was magical. You were able to feed and care for the horses, play mini games, and sift through your collection virtually. If anyone entered the website without their volume on, they missed out. The background music was ethereal and so fitting. I listened to it recently and couldn't help but hope that the website would return. I want to take a little bit of time to talk about the insanity that was the lore. The lore. So with each and every single card, you would get a quote. You would get a glimpse into the Bella Sara world, which was called the North of North. And that was a place where magical horses existed. There were horses that were named after gods and goddesses, horses that were modeled after mermaids, fairies, all different kinds of fantasy elements mixed in together. In this place called the North of North, you had horses, you had creatures, and those were also available in the card sets, but they weren't as valuable as the horses because you couldn't take care of them. You would have Valkyries and then sometimes occasionally humans, but those were rare in the North of North. There's an entire Bella Sara movie that I mentioned that goes into a bit of the lore. They had an entire freaking world, RPG style, that was planned out. There was a bazaar, there was a castle. And the only point in time where you really got to explore all of this was when they released a new game. It was Bella Sara Adventures. You started at a farm and then you would go and travel to North of North. There'd be quests and dialogue that you get to go through. You would get tidbits of information from different characters and creatures, and you would also get to see the world. There was an actual evil villains in this world. Wolves. As a kid, they scared me shitless. It was really, really in-depth for a kid's game, and I can still appreciate that nowadays. As many of you may know, on December 31st, Adobe shut down Flash. I had high hopes that the website would appear on Blue Maxima's Flashpoint, but it seemed inevitable to die with Flash. So I decided I had to try and save it on my own. With the limited skills I had in programming and development, I began my research. Consulting the many tutorials on Maxima's page, I worked for hours on the simpler parts of setting up the game. Once I had all the tools I needed at my disposal, I went in. It took a lot of brain power and Gatorade to get through the thick of it. I found the only Flash files there were available, but it wasn't enough. The website had removed many of its features sometime in 2019, and the Wayback Machine didn't have all the assets, but I still pursued it. After all that work, I had something appear in Shockwave. It was a loading screen, a Bella Sara loading screen, but a loading screen nonetheless. I realized long before that the key features of the game I couldn't preserve if I wanted to. Without the login features of the website, I couldn't play the game as I once had, ever again. It was a wild ride to get where I am. I know at this point that neither I nor a professional can do anything about it. Only the company behind it all can revive this childhood treasure. In writing this, the most recent development is confirmation that the website is staying as it is, an archive of cards that are no longer on the market. The only canon piece of content we have is an app where you can collect cards and watch the one and only Bella Sara movie. Even if it's just a memory, it's one worth reliving. It was a huge part of what made me fall in love with games. Whether or not it comes back, I'm glad I was a part of the magical world of Bella Sara. If you're a longtime fan of the franchise or a viewer who sat through this spiel, thank you for watching. Have a good day. Have a good night. Please, for the love of God, don't fucking fight.